The battered, the embattled, the beaten up, Billy Napier, welcome back. And welcome back to the Voice of College Football. Instant analysis here after Florida's stunning loss in the Swamp to South Florida on a last-second field goal, 18-16. Rewind 1 year, and we basically had a similar scene when Florida went down to Miami, and then a couple weeks later were blown out by Texas A&M, and Billy Napier left the field to boos all over the place and chants of "Go Billy, see ya." And we thought, just about everybody in America, that Billy Napier was not long for Gainesville. But of course, Florida came back with 5 consecutive wins against one of the most difficult November schedules in college football. And they finished 8-5. And going into this season, it's been all feel good for Florida with DJ Lagway, the freshman phenom, coming back. And the recruiting looking good. And Florida looking like a competitive football team. But we are back to square one for Billy Napier because the Boo Birds are going to be back. And I'm sure that the forums and the social media posts are flooding the internet right now as we speak. Let's get to the action. And there was little of it for the Florida offense in terms of action. They could have scored 3 touchdowns in the first half, but Jacoby Jackson had a touchdown run that was called back due to holding. Tony Livingston, the Florida tight end, dropped a touchdown pass. He also ran in for a touchdown, but that was called back because of offensive pass interference by him. Florida did kick the 3 field goals instead of the 3 touchdowns, but that kept it a game. South Florida quarterback Byron Brown, meanwhile, made a Houdini escape late in the first half on a South Florida drive that set up a late field goal that could have been a touchdown for the Bulls as they made it all the way down to the 2-yard line, but they only had 2 seconds left on a 1st and goal. Therefore, Nick Gramatica converted the field goal, and stay tuned. We will hear from him later. And of course, he of the kicking Gramaticas, 9-6 at the break. DJ Lagway laid in one perfectly for Trey Wilson on what should have been a scoring drive for Florida, but that bogged down as well. Trey Wilson, 7 catches for 60 yards. DJ Lagway statistically looked okay, 23 of 33 for 222 and a pick and a touchdown. Deshaun Rucker of South Florida, this guy laying the wood all day on Florida ball carriers, and that's the kind of attitude that South Florida came in with, that they were going to win this ball game as an 18-point dog. Then USF finally got the much-needed offensive spark that they desperately were in search of. 66 yards from Brown to Deshaun Singleton as the Bulls took their first lead at 13-9 late in the third quarter, after a 20-yard drive for a touchdown for Florida, as they mounted no long touchdown drives. That was the one scoring drive in regards to a touchdown for Florida. 5 plays, 20 yards in the fourth quarter to take a 16-15 lead. We move it inside 3 minutes, and the Bulls go down the field, and they get past the midfield stripe. And South Florida coach Alex Golis said this week that if he needed Gramatica from as long as 60 yards, that he would not hesitate. And he proved that with under 3 minutes left in the game, trying Gramatica from 58 yards out, and that kick fell well short. So Florida had the game in hand, up 1 point, 2:45 on the clock, and they had the ball in their hands to try to milk the clock. Now, they knew that, of course, if USF stacked the running game, that they would need to throw it, and Florida did try to throw the football. They went 3 and out. They did get a decent punt, and were in good position defensively because they had only given that one play to Singleton from 66 yards. But otherwise, the Florida defense playing a good football game had USF pinned to the 13-yard line with just about 2 minutes left in the game. But the Florida defense imploded. They were just about to get off the field when Dijon Johnson committed a pass interference on a slant play, so automatic first down for USF. And then the swing pass out to Avon Isaac for 29 yards out to midfield, and tack on a Jalen Carter, a Brendan Bett spitting incident. Unsportsmanlike conduct, so that's 15 yards. Plus, Bett got kicked out of the football game for spitting. And again, the Gator defense is imploding at this point. And South Florida is off and running. Joshua Porter to the 20 on a short pass as well. Then at that point, they're down to the 20-yard line, so South Florida just milks the clock. They ran a lot of quarterback runs, and Byron Brown actually almost scored a touchdown, tackled at the 2-yard line, and that set up Grammatica from not 58 yards this time, from inside the 5-yard line for the game-winning field goal as time expired in the swamp. South Florida 18, Florida 16. And yes, look at Florida's schedule. Look at this loss. And Billy Napier apparently just seemingly is back to where he started about this time last year. Florida football possibly in trouble, not playing well. Where was the offense? This was not a fluke of a win for South Florida. They proved to be a pretty decent football team against Boise State. They outgained Florida 391 to 355. And now for Florida, they go to Death Valley to take on a hot LSU team. And for South Florida, well, they had to start a murderer's row themselves to start the season, and they took care of the first two in Boise State and Florida. Now they go to Hard Rock Stadium to take on Miami, and they better be a ranked football team in the coaches poll and the AP poll. And look at the abuse that this guy took in ranking South Florida in the top 15 in the country, and they will only rise in the top 25. That actually makes sense. All right, Alex Golish doing a remarkable job at South Florida. He took over a 1-win football program and led them to 2 consecutive bowl games, and now he is defeating some decent talent across the nation, including Florida of the SEC. Your thoughts about South Florida? Let's not make it all about Florida. And the Gators, of course, they're going to get most of the pub on this loss because we like to focus on the negative, and they are an SEC established program, of course. But your comments, questions down below on Florida and South Florida. And remember that we go live with you each and every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Saturday, or post-game right here at the Voice of College Football.